Once upon a time, a king living in a cold country. The king loved to eat and drink, indulging in food 7 times a day. As a result, he became extremely overweight and spent his days yelling at his courtiers. His son, Prince Henry, was quite the opposite. He had no interest in food and was very thin. His aversion to eating made the king frustrated, and he became helpless due to his son's behavior. But Prince Henry had a unique talent. He wrote poetry exclusively about pigeons. Despite the king's annoyance, he was forced to listen to this pigeon-themed poetry. The king prepared new dishes for the prince, hoping he would eat, but Prince Henry remained uninterested. One day, as the king sat on his throne pondering what to do about his son, an idea struck him. Why not arrange a marriage for Prince Henry? When he proposed this to the prince, Henry replied that he would marry according to his own wishes and preferences. He had no interest in any girl at the moment. Instead, he asked the king to listen to a new poem he had just written about pigeons. Frustrated, the king declined, saying he was too angry at the moment. Prince Henry left the court, leaving the king to his thoughts. One day, King received a basket of sweet oranges from a distant country. The oranges were sent by the owner of a garden in that faraway land. The note attached to the oranges explained that the king would find them exceptionally sweet because their country was not cold like his own. Instead, it had intense heat, which made the fruit incredibly flavorful. The king was delighted and invited his son, Prince Henry, to share the oranges with him. For the first time, Prince Henry eagerly joined the king and enjoyed the sweet oranges. After eating, the prince remarked that he felt inspired, and his mind was filled with poetry about pigeons. The king, still annoyed, dismissed his son, telling him to rest. The next day, as the king sat in court enjoying his meal, Prince Henry suddenly appeared and said, "King Salamat, tonight I have a very strange dream. I saw that I am in a very large garden where there are many trees, and there is an orange tree in these trees. As soon as I broke this orange from this tree, a very beautiful girl came out of it, and she called me to this garden for her help. As soon as I broke this orange from this tree, a very beautiful girl came out of it, and she called me to this garden for her help. I have decided that I will know the truth of this and will definitely save this girl, and go to the orange garden to save her." On hearing the prince's words, the king laughed loudly and said, "You talk strangely. Does any girl come out of the orange?" The prince said, "No, king. I will go there and find out that." Prince Henry did not stop at all, and he arranged the best horse for himself, and then he left for his journey. Prince Henry traveled day and night, and finally he reached an area where the weather was very hot. Prince Henry thought that this is definitely the place where he could have an orange garden. Finally, he reached a place while traveling and saw an old man with a long white beard resting under the shade of a tree. Prince Henry asked the old man if there was an orange tree here, and the old man said, "The tree you are asking about is in a garden a little away from here." On hearing this, Prince Henry went to this garden and went some distance and saw a large garden where there were many trees. Prince Henry approached the tree, and to his surprise, he saw a magnificent centaur perched on top. The centaur broke off a large branch from the tree and cut through its trunk. As soon as it fell, a beautiful canary bird emerged from within. The bird had golden plumage and looked enchanting. Prince Henry was astonished and asked the little bird, "Who are you, and what are you doing in this centaur's tree?" Suddenly, the canary bird transformed into a lovely girl. She introduced herself as Zizi and explained that she had been imprisoned by a witch, who turned her into a fairy bird and hid her in the centaur's tree. Some time ago, a wicked witch had passed through their garden, causing harm to their fruit trees, her father trying to stop her, but in anger, she turned her into a fairy bird and concealed her in the tree, saying that only a stranger with good intentions could free her. Zizi expressed her gratitude to Prince Henry for rescuing her. Overwhelmed with joy, Prince Henry proposed to marry her. Zizi sought permission from her parents, and both of them embarked on a journey together. When Prince Henry came near his palace, he said to the beautiful girl Zizi, "You wait for me here. I want you to be given a grand welcome, and I come with the best house and ride from my palace." so that I can take you to my palace with grandeur." Saying this, the prince left for the palace and Zizi waited for him there. Suddenly, Zizi heard a noise near the forest, feeling that there was no danger. So she turned herself into a canary bird and sat on the trunk of a tree and waited for the prince. After a while, the prince returned to the forest with the best ride, and was astonished to find that the beautiful girl was nowhere to be seen. He was extremely surprised and worried, thinking about how he would answer the king, who already did not believe him that a girl could emerge from an orange. If he went back empty-handed, the king would laugh at him even more. The prince, disappointed, headed towards the palace, feeling a great sense of loss and missing the beautiful girl deeply. At the palace, the king was waiting for the prince, eager to see if his son had indeed brought a girl out of an orange. But seeing the prince return empty-handed, the king was surprised and asked, "Are you joking with me? Where is the girl you claim to have brought out of an orange?" The prince, bowing his head in disappointment, said, "Father, I did bring the girl, but now she is lost somewhere." Seeing his son so dejected, the king decided to cheer him up with a good meal. He ordered his skilled chef to quickly prepare a large roasted chicken for his son, hoping it would lift his spirits. While the cook was preparing the meal, a beautiful little canary flew into the kitchen. "Hello, Mr. Cook," the canary said in a beautiful voice. "Good morning, beautiful golden bird," the cook replied. "Mr. Cook, I want to give Prince Henry a beautiful surprise. How can I help?" Mr. Cook asked. "Put me in this empty dish, and we can pretend there's a roast chicken inside. Then cover it and bring it to the table." Mr. Cook brought the dish to the table and lifted the lid, but instead of a roast chicken, a beautiful canary flew out and perched on the table. The king, sitting at the table, looked at the yellow canary in his hand and said, "What a beautiful bird." Immediately, the canary transformed into a beautiful girl. "Where did this beautiful girl come from?" exclaimed the king. "Oh my God, it's Zizi!" the prince shouted. The king, amazed, said, "I thought this was all a foolish dream, but here she is." "You left me in the forest," Zizi said. "I got scared and turned myself back into a canary." "Oh, I'm really sorry," Prince Henry said. "I fell in love with you the moment I saw you, and I fell in love with you too," Zizi said. Prince Henry then said, "At this moment, a beautiful poem about a dove has come to my mind. Why don't I recite it to both of you?" Hearing this, the beautiful girl Zizi said, "I don't really enjoy listening to poetry, but I would advise you to write your beautiful poem about the dove in a book. Not everyone may dislike your poetry. There will be many people who would love to read your poetry, but you cannot reach them. So, if you publish it in a book, many people might want to buy and read it, and you will also be happy to find true admirers." Hearing this wise girl's words, the king sneezed with joy and said, "You have solved this problem. I will arrange a grand wedding for both of you." Zizi and Henry looked at each other and nodded, their faces beaming with big smiles. The wedding took place a few days later, and Zizi and Prince Henry lived happily ever after.